Podcast City Network.
Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome to another episode of Urban Nerd Weekly. On today's show, we got a lot in store. It's the very first episode of 2021, and we all thought the horror movie known as 2020 was over, but everybody forgets that every horror movie has a sequel. Welcome. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about how All South and Warnock won, but it was overshadowed by the Senate building being stormed by armed radicals. Dr. Dre was hospitalized, and everybody's still waiting on their stimulus checks. Spotify purged tens of thousands of tracks for fraudulent streams, and Donald Trump has officially been banned from the 3 major social media sites. So buckle up, guys. Tune in, nerd out, to today's episode of Urban Nerd Weekly. Urban Nerd. Urban Nerd. Urban Nerd. Alright, guys. Welcome to the very first episode of 2021. This is season 7, episode 4, for everybody still keeping count. Oh, God, this year just started off crazy. I know I've been off the scene for a minute, guys. There's been a lot going on over here at Urban Nerd headquarters. Big shouts out to Nano Kitty Cat. Cannot make this episode, but trust me, we got so much in store for this season. It's so gonna make up for it. A lot going on in the world, man. You know, we were all, partying, celebrating, trying to forget about all the bullshit going on in 2020. And 2021, we are, 8 days in, and the fucking chaos that has ensued. I have literally sat down to start recording this episode 3 different times just this year, and I had to stop and read about some new shit that was going on. But we're going to talk about as much as I can talk about in today's episode, and of course, y'all know I'm gonna keep y'all up to date further along in the season. But this is just, currently what's going on, so... but we're going to get into all of that in today's Nerd News Update, and we'll get there in a minute. However, first off, I just want to announce that Urban Nerd Weekly is now on Pandora. That's right, you can catch Urban Nerd Weekly on Pandora. Every episode is on there in order. Check us out, man. I'm so glad that we finally made it on Pandora. We can officially say available on all platforms. It's a great thing. I hope everyone's... Christmas and New Year's was as festive as mine was. I did get to drink and be merry and have a great time with the fam and just, catch up on some stuff. So yeah, man, I hope yours is good as well. Before we get into everything, wants to make sure I mention Podcast City Network, which is the network that Urban Nerd Weekly is a part of, and it's a bunch of great shows that you can always catch on there, guys. Final Score, the ever-released show, is on hiatus right now, but those guys will be coming back real soon. Don't forget about the Chris Carnage show, and there's actually a couple of new shows been added to the roster, so if you want to get a complete list, make sure you guys head on over to podcastcity.net, and while you're there, make sure you go ahead and hit up the merch shop, check out some of the cool gear we got book bags, t-shirts, long sleeves, short sleeve, hoodies, we got gaiters. If y'all don't know what gaiters is, it's some things they be wearing on Naruto, where they wear it on their neck, and then they can pull it up, and it's like a mask on their face. It's actually very helpful during pandemic, whole quarantine, don't breathe on me, period of the world history that we're in right now. So make sure you hit up podcastcity.net/shop for all the merch. And it's got Urban Nerd Weekly merch, Podcast City Network merch, as well as merchandise from all the other shows on Podcast City Network. So if you want to support, or if you want to buy some comfy stuff, because I'm not going to lie, them shirts is comfy. And the book bag looks cool. It's like throwback to the little string backpacks that everybody's wearing back in 07, 08. I love it, man. Make sure you guys check that out. Spend your little minutes with us, man. And we appreciate you greatly. On today's digital download, we got Pretty Little Life by Darby Kane. It came out on December the 29th. We got The Chanel Sisters by Judith Little. We also have The Wrong Family by Taryn Fisher. Mediocre by Ijoma Alau. And we also got Ready Player 2 and Ready Player 1. They're an honorable mention because one of them came out last year and the other one just came out. But they are an awesome read, so I heavily recommend it. Both books were written by Ernest Cline, so make sure you guys check that out. In the music section of today's digital download, we got Jose Guapo with Bandemic, Kodak Black with Bill Israel, 2 Chainz with So Help Me God, ASAP Rock with Spirit World Field Guide, Goody Mob with Survival Kit, the boy Russ came with the Chomp EP, Megan Thee Stallion with Good News, Rich the Kid and NBA Youngboy with Nobody Safe, Jeezy, The Recession 2, French Montana, Coke Boys 5, and we also got Fugiano with Gutter Baby. Can't forget Currency and Harry Fraud with the Bonus Footage EP, Lil Yachty with Lil Boat 3.5, Lil Wayne finally drops No Ceilings 3 at the tail end of last year with DJ Khaled, and they had an A and a B side, so make sure y'all, if y'all check that out, I want y'all to tell me what y'all think in the comments on, whatever platform we on. Jim Jones, the El Capo, deluxe version is out now. Busta Rhymes Extinction Level Event 2, The Wrath of God deluxe version is now out. Juicy J with The Hustle Continues, and I can't even say Juicy J without thinking about, I was on Lil Duval's Instagram page and he posted a picture of a tweet from Juicy J saying, if I influenced anybody to do drugs over the last years with my music, I'm sorry. And Lil Duval was just like, nigga, it's too late. But keeping it rolling. We also got YFN Lucci with Wish Me Well 3, Me Against the World. We also got Chance the Rapper and Jeremiah with Merry Christmas, Lil Mama, the gift that keeps on giving. We got Big Lotto, aka Miss Mulatto, with Queen of the South, the extended version. We also got Kid Cudi with Man on the Moon 3, The Chosen. E40 and Too Short, who just did a verses together recently. It looks like they dropped a double album or a double EP or something called Ain't Gonna Do It / Terms and Conditions. We also got Eminem with Music to Be Murdered By, Side B. Playboy Cardi also gave us Whole Lotta Red. Lil Wop dropped Enchanted, and Tyga also released Well Done Fever. And that is all for today's digital download. Just wanted to take a second to remind you guys that if you haven't already, make sure to follow us on all the social media platforms, especially the big 3, that being Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, at Urban Nerd Weekly, spelt the same, no spaces, no dashes, except for me, of course, on all platforms. Also, make sure you guys follow me at Spayce Was here on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Also, make sure you guys hit up Nano Kitty Cat at Nano_Kitty_Cat on both Twitter and Instagram. And she is at Nano Kitty Cat 1 on Facebook. Make sure you guys hit up her page so you can keep up with all of Kitty's adventures. And Kitty's Corner is still coming soon to each and every episode of Urban Nerd Weekly. Also, remind you guys to like and rate and comment on the show, leave reviews and stuff on the different platforms of your choosing. Whether you subscribe and listen on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, or Pandora, make sure you leave some comments or rate the show so we can get the ranking up and everything. So that way we could be one of the top shows and everybody know that you're one of the people who heard about that cool shit everybody's talking about first. But yeah, man, make sure you do that, and I appreciate you in advance. In today's nerd news update, unless you've been under a rock for a little while, Georgia's been the center, let's call it the epicenter of the political world for about the last month or so, because of the fact that we were the focus of the runoff election. Yes, the election between Kelly Loeffler and John Warnock, and also versus whoever the fuck I didn't vote for. Ossoff and Warnock definitely won, so Georgia is officially a blue state. But the celebration of Georgians like me was very much cut short by the news that the Senate building was being stormed by armed fucking radicals. That's right, people. They was up in there with guns and shit. They had on masks too. Like, what the fuck? Y'all got guns and masks on and no vests. Y'all dumb as hell. According to NBCnews.com, 4 people died in that melee. Congress was evacuated. The National Guard was activated. Not immediately, but after the rioters stormed the Capitol. A noose was erected apparently outside, and at least one improvised explosive device was found on the grounds, law enforcement said. In a story by Alan Smith, Ginger Gibson, Daniel Arkin, Pete Williams, and Darturnoro Clark. I'm sorry. They should not have put your name last. We need to struggle first before we get to the easy names. NBC Times, do a little bit. NBC News, do a little bit better. In Washington, the U.S. Capitol descended into chaos and violence Wednesday as hundreds of pro-Trump rioters swarmed the building, leaving 4 people dead and forcing the Senate to evacuate and Vice President Mike Pence to be ushered to safety. The frenzied scene after riots broke through barricades forced Congress to evacuate parts of the building and abruptly pause the ceremonial event, affirming that President-elect Joe Biden won the November election. In one dramatic moment, police officers drew guns as rioters tried to break into the House chamber. Pence, who was presiding over the joint sessions of Congress, could be seen rushing out of the Senate chamber amid the sounds of throngs of President Donald Trump supporters who surrounded the Capitol. Pence and Senator Charles Grassley, a Republican from Iowa, the Senate President pro tem, were taken to a secure location, according to NBC News. A woman was fatally shot by U.S. Capitol Police, and 3 other people died in medical emergencies, according to Washington Police Chief Robert Conti. Awfully close to... I'm not even going to do it. The doors of the Senate were closed and locked. The senators were told to stay away from the area. The doors to the House were barricaded, and some lawmakers were seen praying. Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser ordered a 12-hour curfew in the city that began Wednesday evening. Twitter and other social media channels were flooded with images of protesters, skirmish with police officers, and there were multiple reports of rioting inside the Capitol as some rioters broke windows, battered down doors, and postured in the Senate chamber. Improvised explosive devices were found on the Capitol grounds. Several law enforcement officials did confirm this. Officers were in the process of destroying the devices, and it was not clear whether they were functional. At least one made off with a small section of galvanized pipe. The woman who was fatally shot in the Capitol building was Ashley Babbitt, 35 of San Diego. And her brother-in-law, Justin Jackson, said in a statement to the station, to NBC San Diego, Ashley was both loyal as well as extremely passionate about what she believed in. She loved this country and felt honored to have served in our armed forces. Please keep her family in your thoughts and you respect their privacy during this time. 5 weapons were recovered from the complex and 3 arrests were made in D.C. Police said none of the people were residents of D.C. There were 12 arrests in the 2 days leading up to Wednesday. Images from the clashes were rife with disturbing hate symbols, a photo of a noose that had been hung on the west side of the Capitol, protesters having Confederate flags or using white power gestures. Trump directed the National Guard to head to the Capitol, he said in a tweet, and U.S. Capitol Police requested additional support. The FBI was deployed and the U.S. Marshals Service assisted too. At Bowser's 12-hour curfew went into effect, most of the protesters dispersed. But pro-Trump demonstrators were seen in videos on social media roaming the city streets amid a heavy police presence. Washington police announced several arrests related to the protests and about 50 curfew violations arrests as of 10:30 p.m. The police department said that most of the arrests were from out of state and that it was processing additional arrests. Bowser said that the city is working with federal law enforcement agencies to identify and prosecute people who stormed the chambers of Congress. All 4 living former presidents decreed the rioting. Decreed? I don't know. Former President George W. Bush condemned the violence in the statement and also indirectly criticized Trump and his supporters. I'm going to read it in his voice just cuz. It is sickening and heartbreaking. Okay, I can't do his voice good. I'm going to just do it regular. It is a sickening and heartbreaking sight. This is how election revolts are disputed in Banana Republic, not our democratic republic, he said. I'm appalled by the reckless behavior of some political leaders since the election and by the lack of respect shown today for our institutions, our traditions, and our law enforcement. Bush said the passions of protesters were inflamed by falsehoods and false hopes. Former President Barack Obama excoriated Trump in a statement and denounced the violence, calling it a moment of great dishonor and shame for our nation. Right now, Republican leaders have a choice made clear in the desecrated chambers of democracy. They can continue down this road and keep stoking the raging fires, end quote, Obama said, or, quote, or they can choose reality and take the first steps toward extinguishing the flames. They can choose America, end quote. Former President Jimmy Carter chimed in and said, this is a national tragedy. It is not who we are as a nation. While Bill Clinton tweeted, the match was lit by Donald Trump and his most ardent enablers, including many in Congress, to overturn the results of the election he lost. So as we already know, Trump is a sore loser. So of course, you know, it's just so irresponsible, but I mean, you gotta admit this happened because he lost and he couldn't handle it. So of course he's already developed this radical support group surrounding him, and now they're the ones that stormed the Senate. It's just insane, folks. And subsequently, because a big portion of how he was able to accomplish this was his use of social media, he's actually been banned from the top 3 social media sites, that being Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. He is banned from all of them. Now, we all know Twitter is his choice. So much so that he had 2 verified fucking profiles on Twitter. Like, did y'all know this? Like, as much as they talk that shit, y'all verified both of them motherfuckers. So Twitter, y'all gotta sit there and twiddle y'all thumbs and think about how responsible y'all was for this shit. But we're not gonna lay it all on y'all. This was a toupee wearing, orange colored Zionistic homophobe. So with the right kind of money and the right kind of power, people like that can make fucked up shit like this happen. However, hopefully, you know, after Biden gets in and, you know, we let all these radicals do what they gonna do, because we not finna do nothing. And y'all know this show is called Urban Nerd Weekly, so let me remind y'all, I'm a black man, and I'm talking to my people right now. We not finna do shit. We finna sit at home. We fixing to chill. We finna wait on this motherfucking stimulus check that we gonna talk about at the end of today's episode, and that's about it. In case you ain't understand what the term that you done heard from some street niggas said about to keep my head down, stack bread, and stay out the way, that's what that mean. That ain't got nothing to do with us. That's them. Moving on to the next story of today's Nerd News Update. On Monday of this week, Dr. Dre was hospitalized for a brain aneurysm. Can you believe that shit, man? Dr. Dre was hospitalized for a brain aneurysm. I mean, he's 55, so, you know, shit be happening, but it hit me hard because, you know, my grandma had a brain aneurysm a few years ago, and it just has changed so much stuff for our family, and I can only imagine what they're going through with someone like Dr. Dre in his role. But according to TMZ.com, at 8:12 p.m., which was the last update on the 5th, Dr. Dre posted a message thanking everyone for their love, support, saying thank you to my family. Matter of fact, let me just go all the way down. You know what I'm saying? Let me start from the real, because that's the update part. But Dr. Dre was at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles after suffering a brain aneurysm, which I've already said. Sources connected to Dre and with direct knowledge tell us Dr. Dre suffered the aneurysm and was rushed by ambulance and taken directly to the intensive care unit where he remains right now. Our sources say the 55-year-old music mogul is stable and lucid, but doctors don't know what caused the bleeding, and they're doing a battery of tests. As you know, Dr. Dre is in the middle of a very contentious divorce with his estranged wife, Nicole. As TMZ has reported, not Urban Nerd Weekly, Nicole wants $2 million a month in temporary spousal support. And $5 million for attorney fees. I thought the doctor said they didn't know what caused the brain aneurysm. This sounds like exactly what would cause a brain aneurysm. But Dr. Dre has been paying all of her expenses, so the $2 million demanded was outlandish. He also says the attorney's fees are outrageous since her lawyers have only been working on the case for a few months. And as TMZ reported, Nicole wants a judge to reject the prenuptial agreement she signed in 1996, claiming Dre ripped it up early on in the marriage. Dre strongly denies that, which I believe since there is still a survivor copy, so ripping that shit up doesn't mean anything. There is a hearing Wednesday in downtown LA on both issues. Obviously, Dre will not be attending, and we're assuming the judge will continue the matter due to the facts of the matter. And in an update on that story, he did post a message thanking everyone for their love and support, saying, "Thanks to my family, friends, and fans for their interest and well wishes. I'm doing great and getting excellent care from my medical team. I will be out of the hospital and back home soon. Shout out to all the great medical professionals at Sears. One love." Now, that was about 8/12 a couple days ago. Problem is, ever since then, the news is broke that Dr. Dre has been hospitalized, and there seems to be a few people willing to take advantage of that. Once again, according to TMZ, Dr. Dre's house has been hit by burglars. Apparently, they were thwarted first. Some alleged criminals apparently saw Dr. Dre was at the hospital because they tried to break into his home. Our sources say, TMZ sources say 4 men were at Dre's Pacific Palisades property Wednesday around 2 a.m. Security spotted them and they were chasing the house. Before they could get to the main structure, security confronted them and quickly called police. The men fled, but cops arrived almost immediately and chased the 4 would-be burglars, catching and arresting them. Law enforcement believes the men saw TMZ's story, that Dre was in the hospital suffering from the aneurysm and saw a window of opportunity. And this is not from TMZ, however. They tried to hop through that window and got their shit Donkey Kong by Dr. Dre's crack security team. I just want y'all to understand that's what basically happened right there. Back to TMZ though. The 4 men were arrested for attempted burglary and are currently in custody. As we first reported, Dre suffered the aneurysm Monday and was rushed by ambulance to the hospital where he remains in the intensive care unit. Doctors, like I said in the last article I read, are still trying to determine the cause of the bleeding. However, he is lucid, is sending out Instagram messages of hopes and well wishes and all that good stuff. So, sending lots of love out to Dre's family. You know what I'm saying? I hope this doesn't, mess up too much, and it's such a just untimely matter right after the holidays. It's just blows for so many reasons. But yeah, lots of shouts out to his family, and I hope that everyone in their camp is just doing great. On to the next story in today's Nerd News update. Spotify purges tens of thousands of tracks for fraudulent streams. That's right, guys. According to Hypebot.com, Spotify has purged tens of thousands of tracks for allegedly using services that fraudulently inflate streams. I hate to be the one that say this, but that's exactly what what J. Cole was telling us last year. Music industry attorney Wallace Collins wrote in a blog post that the number of tracks purged by Spotify on January 1st could exceed 750,000. Upon information and belief, some 750,000 songs were removed, the vast majority of which appear to have used DistroKid for distribution, wrote Collins. It appears no major label artist has been affected, nor has any major label music been taken down as part of its purge. Spotify regularly purges that they detect as inflated streams by reducing the stream count or pulling that product off the service entirely. A source close to the situation said that the latest purge was in the low 10,000s. The source also disputed Wallace's assertion that Spotify has singled out independent artists or DistroKid. According to the Spotify FAQ, frequently asked questions, any service that claims to offer guaranteed placement on Spotify on playlists on Spotify in exchange for money are in violation of our terms and conditions, and they shouldn't be used. Oh, so they're not saying that like they have the kind of fraudulent streams where they got like a bot. They're basically just mad about the payola of it all. They really just trying to, you know, crack down on folks who taking money for playlist placements. That's not quite what I thought they was cracking down on, because I thought, you know, it was the machines that Mr. J. Cole spoke so unfondly of. But anyway, while it says that his own clients only use legitimate third-party advertising and promotional services as opposed to bots or other artificial means of generating increased streams. So, I mean, I kind of would call, you know, playlist placement third-party advertising, but, you know, because it's not quite like payola. Like with a Spotify playlist, it's not like you have a FM signal that beams relentlessly out to an entire region of people. You know what I'm saying? You got a Spotify playlist that people have already chosen to follow that they like. And if you're being added to the playlist, you at least got to fit into the vibe no matter how much money you have. You know what I mean? So, you know, I don't really think that's the same thing, but we put significant engineering resources and research into detecting, mitigating, and removing artificial streaming activity on Spotify so that nothing stands in the way of our mission of giving artists the opportunity to live off their art. And so that rights holders are paid as fairly as possible for their work, wrote Spotify. The integrity of this is incredibly important to us because the legitimate stream means there are honest, hard-working artists on the other side that are impacted. And I mean, and I'd also like to add to the fact that, in all honesty, if they really felt that way, they'd have probably put some type of effort whatsoever into making sure that the labels weren't pulling these same little tricks as well. You know what I mean? Like, if that's what y'all was really on. But, you know, only time will tell. Maybe they'll eventually at some point decide to look at that side of things. But that's all we have for that story on today's Nerd News Update. On to the next and last story for today's Nerd News Update. According to the University of California in Berkeley, an exoplanet was found by the Hubble telescope resembles the reputed Planet 9 in our solar system. Astronomers confirmed bound orbit for a planet far from its star, showing that far-flung planets exist. Astronomers are still searching for a hypothetical Planet 9 in the distant reaches of our solar system. But an exoplanet 336 light years from Earth is looking more and more like the Planet 9 of its star system. Planet 9, potentially 10 times the size of Earth and orbiting far beyond Neptune in a highly eccentric orbit about the Sun, was proposed in 2012 to explain perturbations in the orbits of dwarf planets just beyond Neptune's orbit. So-called detached Kuiper-belt objects is yet to be found, if it exists. A similarly weird extrasolar planet was discovered far from the star HD 106906 in 2013, the only such wide separation planet known. While much heavier than the predicted mass of Planet 9, perhaps 11 times the mass of Jupiter, or 3,500 times the mass of Earth, it too was sitting in a very unexpected location, far above the disk plane of the planetary system and tilted to an angle of about 21 degrees. The big question until now has been whether the planet called HD 106906b is in an orbit perpetually bound to the binary star, which is a mere 15 million years old compared to the 4.5 billion year age of the or so of the sun, of our sun, or whether it's on its way out of the planetary system, never to return. Basically, is it about to burn out? In a paper published in December 2020 in the Astronomical Journal, astronomers finally answered that question. By precisely tracking the planet's position over 14 years, they determined that it is likely bound to be the star in a 15,000-year highly eccentric orbit, making it a distant cousin of Planet 9. If it is in a highly eccentric orbit around a binary, this raises the question of how did these planets get out there to such large separations, said Meiji Nguyen, a recent UC Berkeley graduate and first author of the paper. Were they scattered from the inner solar system, or did they form out there? According to senior author Paul Callis of the University of California, Berkeley, a junction professor of astronomy, the resemblance to the orbit of the proposed Planet 9 shows that such distant planets can really exist and that they may form within the first tens of millions of years of a star's life. And based on the team's other recent discoveries about 106906, the planet seems to favor a scenario where passing stars also play a role. Something happens very early that starts kicking planets and comets outward. And then you have passing stars that stabilize their orbits, he said. We are slowly accumulating the evidence needed to understand the diversity of extrasolar planets and how that relates to the puzzling aspects of our own solar system. A young dusty star with a weird planet. HD 106906 is a binary star located in the direction of the constellation Crux of the astronomers have studied it extensively for the past 15 years because of its prominent disk of dust, which could be birthing planets. Our solar system may have looked like HD 106906 about 4.5 billion years ago, as the planets formed in a swirling disk of debris left over from the formation of the sun. Surprisingly, images of the star taken in 2013 by the Magellan telescope in Chile revealed the planet glowing from its own internal heat and sitting in an unusually large distance from the binary, 737 times farther from the binary than Earth is from the sun, which is 737 astronomical units. That's 25 times further from the star than Neptune is from the sun. Callis, who searches for planets and dust disks around young stars, co-led a team that used the Gemini Planet Imager on the Gemini South Telescope to obtain the first images of the star's debris disk. In 2015, these observations provided evidence that led theorists to propose that the planet formed close to the binary star was kicked out because of a gravitational interaction with the binary. The evidence, the star's outer dust disk and inner comet belt, are lopsided, suggesting that the planet perturbed the symmetry. The idea is that every time the planet comes to its closest approach to the binary star, it stirs up the material in the disk. Interesting. So they're saying the reason it's not in traditional orbit is because they believe that something in the debris disk that surrounds the planet is having some weird reaction to the heat and or radiation from the sun. Interesting. The idea is that every time the planet comes to its closest approach to the binary star, like I said, it stirs up material in the disk, said team member Robert De Sosa of the European Southern Observatory in Santiago, Chile, who is a former UC Berkeley postdoctoral fellow. So every time the planet comes through, it truncates the disk and pushes up on the side. This scenario has been tested with simulations of this system with the planet on a similar orbit. This was before we knew what the orbit of the planet was. The problem, as pointed out by those simulating such planet interactions, is that a planet would normally be kicked out of the system entirely, becoming a rogue planet, basically just chilling out there solo dolo, kicking shit, on a lone wolf tip. Some other interaction, perhaps with a passing star, would be necessary to stabilize the orbit of an eccentric planet like HD 106906b. A similar scenario has been proposed for the formation of Planet 9, that is, its interaction with our giant planets early in our solar system's history kicked it out of the inner solar system, and after which passing stars in our local cluster stabilized its orbit. Callis went looking for such a flyby star for HD 106906b, and last year he and De Rosa, then at Stanford, University reported finding several nearby stars that would have zipped by the planetary system 3 million years earlier, perhaps providing the nudge needed to stabilize the planet's orbit. Now, with precise measurements of the planet's orbit between 2004 and 2018, June DeRosa and Callis presented evidence that the planet is most likely in a stable but very elliptical orbit around its binary star. Though it's only been 14 years of observation, we're still able to surprisingly get a constraint on the orbit for the first time, confirming our suspicions that it was a very misaligned, and also that the planet is on an approximately 15,000 year orbit. Damn! Injuin said, he didn't say damn, I said damn. The fact that our results are consistent with prediction is, I think, a strong piece of evidence that this planet is indeed bound in the future. A radically velocity measurement is needed to be confirmed on measurements. Look, man, just you know, on the whole basic note, we might have another fucking planet in our solar system, guys. I don't know about y'all, but I'm kind of excited about that, especially since I grew up all the way to the 3rd grade believing, you know, because, you know, scientific community was still under the impression that Pluto was a planet, right? And now it's not a planet anymore. And so it'd be very interesting to find out that after all this time, there's a whole nother planet that can serve as the 9th and final planet in the solar system. You know, but that's all we got for today's Nerd News Update. We're going to be moving on to today's topic, which is the stimulus checks. Matter of fact, scratch that. We're going to go right on back into today's Nerd News Update because I got to matter of fact, we got a whole extra segment for Nerd Money today. We're gonna talk about Lil Wayne all for today's Nerd Money, so we could talk about his $100 million deal with Universal Music Group, as well as his gun charge that I'm pretty sure he has to pay a big chunk of that check he just got for, you know, jail fees and such. So we're gonna get right into that. So about a month and a half ago, Lil Wayne pled guilty to federal weapons charges. He's slated for sentencing this month, and he faces 10 years behind bars for violating probation. Wayne is a felon, and about a year ago, or a little over a year ago now, he was found in possession of a gold-plated pistol. And you know, that's so fucking funny how, you know, this shit done came up after he done endorsed Trump and shit. Reportedly, though, Wayne was honest and upfront about having a gun. A subsequent search of Lil Wayne's private jet revealed the gun, 6 rounds of ammunition, cocaine, ecstasy, and oxycodone. So that sounds like everything that would be in a Lil Wayne song, if you ask me. And that's all for today's Nerd News Update. However, there's kind of a segue into today's Nerd Money segment. So let's get into Nerd Money. Now, today on Nerd Money, we're going to be talking about 2 things. We're going to be talking about Lil Wayne's $100 million Masters deal he did with Universal Republic, as well as what the fuck is going on with the stimulus checks and shit. We're going to talk about Wayne's money first. We're going to talk about Wayne's little situation first, because this is something that happened back in the summer, and it was able to be swept under the rug up until, I guess about this time last month when the deal was revealed. Not too long before No Ceilings 3 Side A and Side B came out. So I don't know if this was a promotional tactic or if this was just something he just finally felt like saying or whatever, but he finally revealed. I don't know if it was him, but I think it was because of the weapons charges, maybe. I don't know. But all this just kind of came to a head all at the same time. So back in June, rapper Lil Wayne sold the rights to the masters for his entire catalog to Universal Music Group. Right? This is what was this was the original report. However, a few weeks later, maybe actually just 1 week later, the story had been re-reported that the sale included the entire catalog of Young Money records. That includes Drake and Nicki Minaj's entire catalog up until everything that Drake started releasing on OVO and everything. I think the one thing that Nicki Minaj has released on the Pink Print, which is of course their respective indie labels, and it also includes Tyga's discography all the way up until the Gold album, 18th Dynasty, which is the one I think might have had Taste on it. I'm not sure. A very odd decision considering we're in an atmosphere right now where people like Kanye and other rappers are trying to fight to buy their masters back and are coming up a little short in the arena to do so, as we all probably saw Kanye release his entire contract on Twitter. Like, he literally took pictures of his entire contract and posted up those pictures on Twitter. And yeah, lots of legal analysis and entertainment lawyers definitely chimed in to talk about, you know, what they read. And it was just a crazy thing how he admitted that, you know, he actually intended to attain a certain amount of wealth in order to buy his own masters back. In some kind of way, he was denied. And now we see people like Wayne just selling them off. Now, if you want my personal opinion, because I mean, it is a very odd decision considering how much power you give away when you give away the rights to your masters. However, based off of what I've been able to speculate, and this is just on some Nerd Money shit, Lil Wayne and Young Money are both signed to Cash Money, who are signed to Universal. Personally, I feel like there's a slight chance that maybe the paperwork on the Cash Money end of things hasn't always been quite so kosher. So maybe Wayne realized that he was never gonna get the money that he was owed for all of the work that he put into Cash Money. So he just decided to go ahead and sell his masters directly to Universal Music Group, giving him at least a fraction of what he deserved. And now, especially since the deal only dealt with material up until a certain point, you know, now he's free to release a bunch of other shit that isn't a part of that deal, and that he'll probably be able to have full ownership of, because I'm pretty sure you guys are going to see probably a story about how Young Money is a completely independent label. It doesn't have any dealings with Universal or Cash Money after this whole shebang is banged all the way out. Because lest we not forget, it was just a couple of years ago that we were reading about how much money Birdman owed Lil Wayne. So, not to mention the couple of hints that Drake's dropped over a couple of years about no longer being a part of the collective Young Money, Cash Money. It's all about OVO and EXO. And, you know, Nicki's been pushing Pink Print. And Tyga just all the way jumped ship. So, I'd love to see how this particular story all the way unfolds. We'll try to try to catch up on it a little later on in the season. But that's all for that's actually not all for I don't know why I said that. So, next up on Nerd Money, we gotta talk about these stimulus checks. Alright, so, as you already know, everybody went on these damn stimulus checks, right? Because at first the unemployment was over with, right? It was supposed to end on Christmas Day, which fucking heartless ass government, bitch. But yeah. So they approved to extend unemployment, as well as they was gonna go ahead and give us another $600 stimulus check. Now, why it took them all year to decide whether or not they was gonna give us another $600, I don't know. They are still, actually, up until the moment I started recording the show, I'm pretty sure they had denied the $2,000 stimulus check. But I'm getting conflicting reports at the exact moment. Just because, like, I'm telling you, everything I'm talking about on today's show, something about the story has changed by the time I started talking about it. However, I did hear a rumor earlier that they might have changed their minds about the whole stimulus check thing or whatever. But as far as I'm concerned, as far as I can see, the little $2,000 check they was thinking about giving us, it's not coming, guys. I wouldn't wait for it if I were y'all. However, if you do get one, please hit your boy up. So, I mean, well, you don't have to, because, I mean, if I got one and nobody else did, I wouldn't want to tell nobody neither. But as far as I know, we just, and then here's the thing, the newest update is, okay, I got an email from TurboTax, and then I found out a bunch of other people got this exact same email. Basically, TurboTax is saying, hey guys, the government, okay, so they, all right, they issued the $600, right? I'm paraphrasing the email. So they sent out the $600, right? But they sent it all to the wrong people. So that's why nobody has their money yet. Because originally we got a notification. I'm sure we all got that little notification about that everybody was going to get their money on the 4th. Right? We're all waiting on January the 4th for our stimulus checks. And then January 4th came and went. A lot of people still sitting here like, yo, bitch, my pockets is, I didn't get shit. So then TurboTax sent out an email saying, hey, y'all, the government said, my bad, they gonna send them out for real. And then we got another email 24 hours later saying, all right, you guys, all the stimulus checks have been sent to the right people now. So hopefully by the time you actually hear this episode, you'll have got your little 600. Hopefully I will have got my little 600. And, you know, maybe somebody will knock some sense into, you know, the powers that be, so we get that 2 bands on deck to keep us straight for at least the next 2 months or a month or so or something. I mean, because I'm broke. I'm a poor person, so $2,000 could stretch for me. But I know some of y'all living high life. 2 bands, that's barely y'all's rent. So I pray for y'all for real. Because if y'all need that and ain't got it yet and on edge about getting it, that means you done already started thinking about robbing folks. But I remind y'all, I'm broke as hell. So even if you somehow find out who I am and where I am, if you rob me, hey, we both gonna be, like, if you try to rob me, in all honesty, you fucking up. Because I'm about to try to steal your gun. Because I can't even afford the gun that you gonna need to rob me. Because first of all, ain't nobody finna take me down barehanded or with a knife. You gonna need a gun to take me out. Second of all, you're not gonna find shit. Third of all, I'm stealing whatever gun you got. And now that's my gun, so I could go rob somebody. And I'm be smart about it. I'm gonna rob people that ain't broke as I am. Because that's clearly where you fucked up in the game at. You know? You know? Oh my God. But yeah, man. So, you know, if you got any questions, concerns, or if you just want to talk about being broke as the new year begins and we going through all this crazy shit, like I said, y'all thought 2020 was over. 2021 is the sequel to that horror movie, people. So, keep your head up. And, clearly, according to the news at the House of Senate, we all need to, be packing right now. Because if they doing that up there, in the Capitol building, they put a noose up in the Capitol building of Atlanta. Like, I mean, not in Atlanta, in the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. I said something about Atlanta because, you know, the crazy rumor was going around. They was going to storm the Capitol building in Atlanta, too. I was like, that's not finna happen because there's too many black people in Atlanta. They need to bus in white folk from outside the metropolitan area in order to do that. And, yeah, they not finna make it that far. Because Zaxby's just released General Tso's chicken, and ain't no fucking way y'all finna get through the line as Zaxby's and make it to the Capitol building. If you didn't catch that was a joke, that's because I don't give a fuck. But that is all for today's segment of Nerd Money. Yeah, man, lots and lots of crazy shit has been going on at the beginning of this year. I'm not even gonna lie. I was one of those people that was like, yeah, let's all right, it's 2020, right? Let's, you know what I'm saying? Let's be celebratory. But this year is just starting off exactly as crazy as last year was, in my opinion. But, you know, as true blue nerds, we always, you know, nerds, we always get through the worst of it. You know what I'm saying? We got swirlies, we got wedgies, we got picked on, we got forgotten about. So, especially if you're an urban nerd like me, then that means you know what it's like, because that means you had a prejudice and you was a nerd. Like, being a black nerd is like, you know what I'm saying? In America, you get points off for being African American. I mean, not like it used to be. I'm not sitting here complaining like it's the fucking 20s and shit where, you know what I'm saying, I couldn't get no white bitches or nothing. But, you know, it's America. Urban Nerd Weekly, man. That's more or less what we about. But before I get on up out of here, I just want to make sure that all my peeps know that I really support them. I want to shout out to my sponsors right quick, and some of the friends of the show. Make sure big shouts out to Sweet K's Cakery. When it comes to not cups. She might be selling cups by now. I don't know. Sweet K's Cakery been hustling since the pandemic started, so they might have cups on deck. I don't fucking know, but I know for a fact they got cupcakes, cakes, cookie cakes, pies, cake pops, all kinds of sweets, whatever you need for your personal consumption, or if you got a function coming up especially, they do great when it comes to like kids' birthday parties, gender reveals, engagement parties, baby showers, like, you know, all that little cool little get-togethers that we can kind of still do during the whole quarantine, 10 people or less era, even though everybody knows we bucking on that number. Big shouts out to Sweet K's Cakery. Shouts out to Creative Custom when it comes to shirts, socks, drawers, bras, and all. Holla at Creative Customs to customize it all. And now they done expanded their inventory during the pandemic, so you could get rolling trays, you could get masks, you could get literally anything at Creative Customs if you send them a DM on Instagram and just be like, yo, I want a Kroger shopping bag with Louis Vuitton stitching on the bottom and my name in the same font as Gucci. Like, if that what you want, that what they got. Like, the definition of I got what you need. Holla at Creative Customs, man. Another big shout out to Project South, a community outreach program that's been very instrumental in community work we're doing. Project South is a movement building organization founded in 1986. This is some historical shit, you guys. To strengthen the community organizing, develop accessible political education, and build people-centered infrastructure in the United States South. It's based right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Project South cultivates productive space for social movement leaders, organizations, and collaborations to build people power from the bottom up. Our work is informed by historical legacy and root cause analysis of our social and economic conditions. Project South recognizes the powerful role of media and communications in educating and activating our communities to work for racial, economic, and social justice, and remains committed to developing movement-driven communications infrastructure in this here region. And in this season, we're actually going to be going and expounding on exactly the full history of Project South. I know I've been like telling you guys about them for a couple of seasons now, but we linked up with them right before the pandemic and the quarantine hit, so we haven't been able to do a lot of the stuff that we have been planning on doing. However, now with the advent of virtual events in the digital landscape, I think there is a way that we can still reach the community, and Project South is going to be the conduit to which we do that. So, huge amount of shouts out to them. As far as the friends of the show goes out, man, shout out to my boy Richie Rich, aka Max Day, aka Maximilian. Shout out to my boy Von Roberts out there in Cali. He killing the internet right now. As soon as this pandemic hit, he switched from he still does. He got some of the funniest stand up shit on YouTube. Just Google Von Roberts, bro. Fuck all the shit that I could tell y'all about him. Just Google comedian Von Roberts. You gon' get your laugh on. He got skits. He got stand up. He got podcast. He got everything, bro. Like as far as creatives go, he's definitely a man after my own heart. So big shouts out to Von Roberts. Shouts out to Capricornia, one of my favorite upcoming podcasters. And she also got a poppin' ass Instagram page. It's actually at Capricornia. Big shouts out to her in the Vibe Time podcast. Shout to my boy Bobby Abercrombie over there at Letting It Be, which is the official podcast of whomitmay.com. Big shouts out to my boy Tracer. It's at What's Brewing, bruh. Huge shouts out to everybody on Podcast City Network. Once again, shout out to my bro Chris Carnage. We're gonna get it later on today, man. I appreciate you for letting me on the network and everything that you've been trying to help me advance with over the last couple of months. Shout out to Everett Lee and everybody else, all the other shows at Podcast City Network, especially the new shows. I see you guys putting in work. This shit is awesome. Shouts out to my girl Leisha over there at Marketing the Pie Studios at 25-8 The Gate. And last but not least, man, this episode is actually dedicated to a very, very, very dear friend of mine, man. I lost one of my closest homies this week. First week of 2021. Y'all probably know her as Dope Ass Capricorn, formerly known as Funny Weird Mom. But to me, she was one of my best friends in the world, and her name was Wendy. It was a very terrible accident that happened, and her birthday was on January the 4th, and she didn't make it to her birthday, man. I ain't even gonna lie, I've been fucked up about it all week. But in all honesty, she was one of the people that made me even dare to start this podcast a couple of years ago in the first place. She actually wanted to transition into being a content creator recently, and yeah, you guys missed out on some of the funniest shit. We've been friends for 10 years, and it just super sucks dick to lose a good friend, man. So forever immortalized at the end of this episode of Urban Nerd Weekly. Rest in peace, big homie. Everybody miss you, cuz. My name is Spayce. I was here, but now I'm